In July 2016, the Nigerian government inaugurated the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBIC, as the administration's flagship initiative to reform the business environment. Chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, it was to attract investment and diversify the economy, to reduce the nation's reliance on oil and make it easier for micro, small and medium enterprises to do business, grow and contribute to sustainable economic activity and provide the jobs essential to improving social inclusion. In May 2017, Osinbajo, as the acting president, signed Executive Order 1 on improving transparency and business environment in Nigeria. The implementation of some of these reforms and others across various sectors has recorded improvement in the area of starting a business, electricity, and trading across border. Welcome. It's great to have you join us on today's edition of Maritime Update, where we bring to you every week activities in the maritime industry. I am Norma Obiaswalo. With the achievements recorded with the ease of doing business, there is still a lot to be done considering the current business realities in Nigeria. Nigerian business are exposed to multiple taxes which cut across various regulatory agencies. It is therefore expected that federal government will in the long run initiate reform strategies that will eliminate multiple tax reviews, audits and investigations, and ensure optional utilization of available resources while boosting the ease of doing business in Nigeria and ultimately investors' confidence. In this episode, we'll be focusing on the ease of doing business as the simplification of business procedures will bring about the sustainable economic development. First, let's look at the issues and developments that made news in the maritime industry. Stay with us. Shippers Council, Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, harp on ethics, integrity in shipping trade. Shippers Council facilitates deployment of 24 wagons for cargo transportation to ICDs. The National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, marine engineers partner to eliminate substandard vessels on inland waterways. Hello and welcome to Maritime News, and now to the details. The Nigerian Shippers Council, NSC, in collaboration with the Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, have intensified efforts to boost the ethics and integrity in shipping trade, urging the importers to comply with standards and shun unethical practices that is jeopardizing growth of the industry. The Executive Secretary and CEO NSC, Hassan Bello, at the sensitization workshop said about 80% of the cargoes going to neighboring ports, which are meant for the Nigerian market, are lost to inefficiency and high costs at the seaports.
With high ethical practice in place in the port system, vices such as impunity, presumptuous behavior, and ignorance with respect to adherence to procedures, rules, and regulations will be minimized. We have intervened, Nigerian Shippers Council, in so many respects to make the business we are in easy and transparent and fast. We want to reduce costs. We want to entrench the ethics of doing business in a very, very clear, transparent environment. Just about 3 days ago, the police command, the Inspector General of Police, has issued a signal to all police formations that, except for the Maritime Police, there is no formation that should stop cargo or inspect cargo. If we automate the ports, there will be no need for human presence at the ports. There will be no need for cutting corners. There will be no need for shady deals and opaque deals. What we are entrenching is transparency. We are making progress. We hope that our ports will be friendly for it to attract cargo.
Director General, Standard Organization of Nigeria (SON), Osita Aboloma, who was represented by Obiora Ananaba, said importers make false declaration and manipulate the process to smuggle substandard products into the country, as he called for full compliance with the standards in order to sensitize the system and jointly grow the Nigerian economy.
In ensuring effective service delivery to stakeholders, starting with adequate sensitization. Suffice to state that adhering to a set of code of ethics ensures that customers and stakeholders receive services in a fair manner. Such codes of ethics provide necessary guidelines for adjusting the integrity with which services are rendered, which helps to foster the trust of the stakeholders and the society in general.
A maritime lawyer, Emmanuel Wagbara, said the institutions must be strengthened to be upright and deliver their mandates. The Nigerian Shippers Council (NSC) has disclosed that it is facilitating the deployment of about 24 wagons which are going to be deployed for the purpose of moving containers to the inland container depots. The Executive Secretary and CEO of the NSC, Hassan Bello, at the seminar organized by the Council in collaboration with the Standard Organization of Nigeria (SON), disclosed that the first consignment will leave for the Kano Inland Depot on April the 16th, 2019.
It's the same thing now. We have about 24 coaches or wagons, rather, are always going to be deployed to for hinterland cargo. We have discussed with Nigerian Railway Corporation and using the narrow gauge for now will transport a lot of cargo hinterland by rail. That will ease the road. It will be faster, but it will be cheaper. If it is 780,000 naira to transport cargo to Kaduna from Lagos, that by rail will cost half. And that means, the cost of transportation, is reducing every day. We hope by April 16th, the first consignment will go to Kaduna and the other off-dock terminals, in various parts of the country.
Bello said that the agency has discussed with the Nigerian Railway Corporation (NRC) to make use of the narrow gauge to transport those cargoes for now, as he reiterated that the use of cargo will reduce the cost of doing business and ensure a faster and safer movement of cargoes. He added that the council is also engaging truckers to ensure that the cost of transporting cargoes is in scientific approach, as 70% of the economy rests on the owners of trucks and their drivers. The management of the National Inland Waterways Authority (NIWA) has expressed concern over the use of obsolete vessels on the nation's inland water transportation, attributing prevalent incidences of boat mishap to this. NIWA boss Senator Olorunimbe Mamora stated this during a courtesy visit of the Association of Marine Engineers AME, led by its president Adeyinka Okunwala, said the agency will partner members of AME to ensure that the vessels plying the nation's inland waterways are up to standard. He further stated that these vessels are outdated and can only be relevant in the museum, as he ought not to be on the waterways, as he called for partnership to ensure that the right vessels ply our waterways, emphasizing that the competence of operators are imperative. Mamora also decried the dilapidated state of the jetties and reiterated the agency's commitment towards constructing modern jetties as part of efforts to boost water transportation. And that's Maritime News. Maritime Update continues shortly. Stay with us.
Welcome to Port Support Services, otherwise called the PSSP. This is an initiative of the Nigerian Shippers Council created to serve the public better. To help you navigate the portal, first log on to the website at www.pssp.ng for every information about the PSSP, which includes information on project standards, operating procedure of the partners of the PSSP, and frequently asked questions or contact information with the PSSP of Nigeria Shippers Council. Members of the public will be able to make complaints using the complaint form, track the status of their complaint complaint, make inquiries, or give us a feedback using the contact form. The following are steps to submit a complaint. Open your web browser and type www.pssp.ng, which will take you to the home page. Click on the Make a Complaint. The login page takes you to the registration portal, which is mandatory for you to submit a complaint. If it's your first time of submitting a complaint, click on either the register or the button on the registration link. To register, you will need to supply your email address, display name, and password. After completing these fields, you should click on the register button. If you have previously created an account, simply log in by supplying your email address and password. After you have successfully logged in, you should see your complaint form. The system assumes you are the main complaint. The complaint form has 5 sections with the following details: service provider details, event or service description, other details, complaint description. In other and in addition, you will find a yes and no button, and this is how it works. Using the yes or no button, indicate if you're complaining on behalf of a company. If you're complaining on behalf of someone, you will have to give us other details by clicking on the Add Detail button. Then click the Next button. From the pop-up list, select the type of company your complaint is about from the agency list and select the company from the company list.
Welcome back. If you have just joined us, this is Maritime Updates reaching you courtesy of the Nigerian Shippers Council. For details, please reach the Nigerian Shippers Council on our email, website, or better still, text the number showing on your screen. Now to the guest of the week. He is Musa Muhammad, Controller Tinkan Alan Command. Share on the command achievements, ease of doing business, and many more. Stay with us. The Nigerian Customs is saddled with a lot of responsibilities. As the controller of Tinkan Command, to what extent will you say you have fared in these responsibilities, and what has been the challenges so far?
Yes, it's interesting. Nigerian Customs Service, is a body, statutorily vested with the responsibilities of collecting government revenue, facilitating trade, combating smuggling, and securing the national borders against the importation of illicit goods, drugs, contraband, etc. And then we also have a responsibility in implementation of government fiscal policy and monetary policies too. These are the core responsibilities of the service. To a large extent, looking at this responsibility, one can say we have fared well. Looking at our performance in 2018.
Okay.
In terms of revenue generation, let me look at them. Let me look one by one. In terms of revenue generation, at least at the end of the year, we were able to collect about 344 billion. That represents almost 98% of the revenue target given to the command. And it was conspicuously 20% over and above the last year's collection. I think to a large extent, one can say we have fared well.
So what has been your challenges?
Well,
in the responsibilities you've mentioned,
yes,
so what has been your challenges?
This is the revenue area.
Okay.
In terms of trade facilitation,
okay,
which is one of the most important functions of the service. To a large extent, we have looked at issue of trying to see that operators operate seamlessly, that there are no hitches here and there. We have tried to establish the dispute resolution seat committee. In operations like this, you have yes and no.
Okay.
Somebody agreeing and disagreeing.
Okay.
So we have tried to establish a committee who this committee is vested with the responsibility of trying to look at issues, swiftly. As the issues come, the committee sit and try to resolve those issues. We also have the help desk. Help desk is there to help operators, stakeholders. Where there are issues, the operators can meet the help desk and make inquiry.
Physically?
Yes, physically, yes. You have we have contacts. You have contact numbers you can call, and then there's an office you can walk into and try to make inquiry about certain things. That is with the help desk. You also have the one-stop shop, which we have introduced. The idea is to streamline and make the clearance process, trying to simplify the clearance process for the operators.
Okay, that brings me to these questions about the standard operating procedure.
Yes.
How has it facilitated seamless operation in our ports?
Yes, standard operating procedures. If you look at the processes, you have pre-clearance process where importers or intending importers has to process from M. He has to process it from M, get a PAR. The PAR is pre-arrival assessment report. These are pre-clearance process. Then you have the clearance process. In the clearance process, an importer submits his declaration, pay his assess, and he pays his duty. So all these are laid down. They are well and clearly spelled out. So for anybody who is doing anything with customs, he's availed with this at whichever point he wants. We have our website, you have the help desk, you have the PRO unit where you can make inquiry on all these things. And then depending on the type of items you are importing or procedure you want, you have procedure for home use. That is, you are importing, you clear your consignment to the market to sell or to use at home. You have clearance procedure for personal effects. You have clearance procedure for some specialized items. Assuming you are importing bulletproof cars, there are requirements that they are there. If you are importing drugs, there are some requirements you have to fulfill. So the standard operating procedure tends to explain bit by bit, even before you start doing some of this, so that before you start, you are clear that at least there is a requirement for end user certificate for importation of bulletproof cars. There is requirement for NAFTA for importation of drugs. You have SUNCAP requirement for importation of certain manufactured items. So this is the importance.
You mentioned earlier that you've been able to meet 98% of your set target.
Yes.
Can you share with us the strategies that was put in place to achieve these revenue targets?
Yes. You are aware we are E now. What I mean by E now is we are automated, fully automated. So it means the efficiency, the effectiveness, and then competitiveness of what we are doing is very obvious. So for operation like this, where there's automation, where you sit in your office, far located from the port, submit your declarations, you can get your assessment, get the payment done through e-banking. So what we did was we established some monitoring team. Since it's e-process, the world over, when you have real-time online process, you need a monitoring. The idea of the monitoring is to see the level of compliance. Where there are compliance, fine. Where there are issues, quickly you will have cause to intervene in such non-compliance and ensure there is compliance. So this is part of the strategy we have adopted. You will have no reason to go to another office too.
So can you rate for us the Nigerian Customs Integrated System in aiding revenue targets? Is it part of your strategies?
The NICES.
Yes.
The NICES, yes. The NICES is the platform for submission of declaration. The NICES avail us with a lot of opportunities. Opportunities in the sense that you have reports reports while things, as at the time things are happening, it's recorded. So if you assess reports, you will see that as at the end of today, what have we made? You know, how many declarations were submitted? How many Madam Nyoma, did you submit any declaration for your brand new vehicle? At what level is that clearance? When are you even expecting it? So to a large extent, it has enabled some efficiency and then predictability. You know, you can predict when your consignment is going to be released. Yes.
Trade facilitation is one of the responsibilities of the service.
Yes.
How can you achieve cost effectiveness in doing business in the sub-region?
Yes. Well, trade facilitation, yes. Trade facilitation essentially is built on 3 pillars. Procedure. The procedure is what represents the custom procedure, for instance, that you are expected to submit Form M, yet your PA, submit your SDDs, then you have issues of infrastructure.
Okay.
Infrastructure, I'm sure you observe the access to this place. You know, infrastructure will encompass the access to the port, light, and what have you. Since we are automated to a large extent, you expect 24/7. You expect light 24/7. Then logistics too. Okay. That is in terms of vehicles to move the cargoes out of the port, in and out for exported items.
So to achieve cost effectiveness, we need infrastructure.
You need all this. It's built on 3 pillars.
Okay.
That is procedures. Okay. Where the procedures are simplified, like the custom procedure now is simplified, delivered to your warehouse.
I heard you mention competitiveness and efficiency, transparency, and the competitiveness you mentioned are key areas the customs service takes seriously.
Yes.
Can you share with us what you've done in this regard?
Yes. You see, transparency. Which other issue did you say?
Transparency, efficiency, and competitiveness.
Efficiency, transparency, and competitiveness. These are strong pillars of the customs. These are strong pillars of the WCO, World Customs Organization. And you're aware Nigeria is a member of that body. It's an international body. The world over, it keeps improving, coming up with new innovations, you know, all with the aim of improving competitiveness.
So what role do you think technology can play in this ease of doing business?
I want to go memory lane. Okay. There was a time your bill of lading will be typed by custom. The manifest, the whole manifest, the manifest can have 1,000 vehicles. You have to type them manually. But now you have e-transmission. That is, even before the vessel arrives in Nigeria, the manifest is transmitted. It's ready for submission of declaration. The agent, in the comfort of his office or importer, can submit declaration. Just sit down, fill the form online, and transmit. Then an assessment is issued. You will now speak with your bank, the payment is done. You get the assessment, and you get an e-release. Before now, all these things were manually done. You have to move from this place to this place, this place, this place. So, as it is now, with technology, you can submit a declaration today and get released today, and the consignment is delivered to your warehouse or to home today.
This will be a fine place to end this wonderful chat. Procedures, infrastructure, and logistics are important factors to aid trade facilitation. It's been Musa Muhammad. He is the controller, Tinkan Island Command. Many thanks for coming on Maritime Update.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back. This is still Maritime Update. To join our interactive segment, send your questions, comments, complaints, or observations to maritimeupdate@yahoo.com with your name and location. We implore you to keep them simple and civil so we can read them. And that's our package on this week's edition of Maritime Update. I must thank you most kindly for being a part of this week's show. Please remember to send your comments, complaints, and observations on our email or the number showing on your screen. This show promises to bring you yet another exciting package next week. For more details, you can also contact the Nigerian Shippers Council on our website or text the number on your screen. You can view this episode or any of our previous episodes on our YouTube channel, Maritime Update. When you visit, please subscribe for free and also click the notification button. I am Norma Obiaswala. Until I come your way again, same time next week, it's goodbye.